Hi there. So if you are looking to have an eco build, you're extending your home, you're reconfiguring it, you're upgrading it in some way, and you have got some materials to choose, some products to choose, maybe you're looking at new windows, maybe it's the walls itself, the brick, or whatever other kind of build-up of materials you're looking at, the roof tiles, flooring, internal finishes. There are so many materials that go into a home project, whether that's a big extension or whether it's just a simple redecoration. You're looking at a lot of choices of materials, and if you're looking at doing that in a more eco-friendly way, then there are some things that you're going to want to look out for so that you can choose materials that are going to give you the result that you want and meet that eco-friendly criteria that you've set. So perhaps you want this eco build, but you're just confused about the greenwashing that goes on. A lot of the big companies have amazing marketing budgets, and they can write these fantastic spiels that makes it sound like they're the best thing possible for the environment, but really they're not so great, and some of them are fantastic. But how do you choose between one material and another? So I'm going to go through 3 questions that you can ask and get answers for when you're choosing the building materials for your or products for your build. So who am I? First of all, I am Jane. I'm a chartered architect. I am the founding director of iArchitect. I'm a Green Register listed eco refurbisher, and I'm on the RIBA Conservation Register as an accredited registrant. So that means I have specialist knowledge in working with older property, more heritage, conservation area property, and I also have specialist knowledge from the eco-design side, and particularly working with existing homes and refurbishing them to be more energy efficient. So, do you want a more eco-friendly home? Give me a thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe, whatever with the buttons below that you need to do. Please help support me in this, and making these videos that I do on a weekly basis to help you. Please comment below and let me know what are your eco build struggles. I would love to open up conversation, hear from you, and be able to help you if I can. So let's get into it. The 3 questions. So number 1, is it made from renewable or recycled material? So the basic material that the product is made out of, or whatever the actual material is, the finish, that it really is a really primary thing that determines whether it's a really eco-friendly thing or not, because there are loads of different processes that are gone through, and some types of activity is more toxic to the environment, some in terms of extraction of material, and there's so much wasted material. So if you can use materials that are preferably post-consumer waste, materials used from post-consumer waste, or they are some other kind of waste product that otherwise wouldn't have a use. I'll give you an example of a kind of a greenwash product that I consider to be greenwash. It was a glass worktop, luxury worktop for a kitchen that you could add lighting underneath. Looks amazing, really looks beautiful in the kitchen. It was made from factory waste glass, and to me that is not really a waste product, because glass, any sort of offcuts of stuff from a lot of factory processes, because factories do try and operate in a more efficient way, at least the better ones do, and so they should be reusing bits of offcut and ploughing that back into production of their materials. So having offcuts going to make a completely different product, to me that's just the same product. Whereas if it was post-consumer glass, so if it came from all the glass that wine bottles and whatever that we throw away into our glass recycling bins, and it was a material that was made from that post-consumer waste glass, then I would consider that to be a truly sustainable product. But glass that's just made out of, you know, bits of offcuts that have just come through the process of making the standard glass from the raw resources, the sand and what have you, the silicon, that's not really what I would class as true recycled material, and therefore I wouldn't consider that to be an especially eco option. It's just a normal type of material. It's not a particularly eco option. But this was sold to one of my clients a couple of years ago as being, you know, a particularly sustainable and eco-friendly material, and I advised them that actually that was a bit of greenwash. So what is recycled is where it's, to me, where it comes either from something that's completely waste. So for example, sheep's wool insulation. Now, sheep, they have to be, what's the word? Shaved. That's not the technical word, but anyway, they get all their wool shaved off. And that actually costs farmers money to do that. And the wool industry is, you know, in the UK, the wool is not really often going into the wool industry, or there is some obviously, but there are a lot of that sheep's wool ends up being waste. And so there are several natural wool insulation companies that take that sheep's wool from the farmers and turn it into that natural wool insulation that you can use in your home. And to me, that is more of an industrial waste product that's being reused. Now, maybe you're vegan and you don't agree with using animal products. That is a completely different argument, and something else that if you do have that particular, you know, requirement, then, you know, you might want to add, is it vegan? But if not, looking for something that is a waste product or a post-consumer waste product, and that's what the material is being used for, I feel like that is much more eco-friendly. Or from a renewable source. So to me, something that's really fast growing, like bamboo or timber. Softwood timbers are more fast growing than hardwood timbers. So those are very renewable materials. Things like hempcrete, so the hemp itself is a plant product. Straw bales, straw grows really quickly. All of these sorts of renewable materials that grow really fast and can be harvested quickly and used in really good ways in buildings. Those are really good renewable products. So that was a question: is it made from renewable or recycled material? The second question is, how far away is it made? And that's important because the amount of distance that a material or a product has to travel to you is going to determine, you know, how much carbon impact that product or material has as a whole, because transport uses a lot of carbon. The energy used to take a lorry or a plane or a ship, so those, or a train possibly. I don't think much stuff is transported around in trains these days, but anyway, that the energy that's taken it around from one place to another, you should take that into account in terms of how eco-friendly it is. And so I personally look to specify materials which are produced as locally as possible, so they've got as little distance to travel as possible. And to me, that makes it a much more environmentally friendly option. And the third question is, how durable is it? Because I think this is really important actually from a long-term perspective, because existing buildings have a lot of carbon sort of trapped within them. And so if you can reuse stuff that's existing and keep it going for a really long time, then the amount of energy that was used to make it over the length of over the time that building or that material is in place, it becomes less significant than, for example, something that has to be changed regularly because it's not very durable. So I think it's much better to get something that is a lot more durable, much more long lasting, that perhaps needs less maintenance. Maintenance also, it comes with energy and carbon associated. You know, people have to travel to the site, to the building from wherever they came from, and that traveling uses energy. They have to maybe clean it, maybe they have to use specialist cleaning materials, maybe those are chemicals, maybe they're toxic to the environment. Maybe they need to use power tools to do any repairs. Again, they use energy and materials that have gone into making those power tools. So, you know, if it's something that can be put in place, doesn't need a lot of maintenance, and is going to last for a really long time, that to me is much more important than getting something that is, you know, more fragile. Maybe in some ways it might seem like a more eco-friendly option, but if it's more fragile and needs to be replaced, then perhaps it's less eco-friendly. An example of this might be bricks. So I know there's a lot of you know, I've seen and heard debates about whether to go with timber, whether to go with brick. So obviously there are some really ancient timber framed buildings, and I'm not knocking timber at all. I think it's possibly one of the best, or the best material that you can build from. But when you're looking at an external finish, say a timber boarding, timber it does need to be maintained. Usually there are very few timbers that don't need any maintenance, and it quite likely, if it gets any sort of rot over time or it's not maintained very well, then is more likely to need to be replaced. Whereas a brick finish, a brick external finish, it's really, really durable, can last hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and needs very little maintenance. Yeah, you might need to repoint it every now and again, but we're talking about decades between each time you need to do any maintenance, as opposed to, you know, just a few years. So this is where the choice of the long-term durability of a material may make it seem more or less eco-friendly in relation to whether the actual material in the first place is particularly eco-friendly. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of like balancing it out. You know, yes, it might be really eco-friendly, but if it's quite fragile, needs lots of maintenance, then something that's a bit less eco-friendly but incredibly durable may be better in the long run anyway. So I hope that these 3 questions were helpful. If you have any questions yourself about these, about eco-build, any struggles that you've got with home design and home extensions and energy efficiency and upgrading your home, please comment below. I'd love to hear any problems that you have, and I can do another video to help you out with those, or I will comment on your comments. And again, if you've liked this video, if you found it helpful, please, you know, do thumbs up, follow, like, subscribe, any of those options using whatever buttons are down below, up above, wherever they are. You know what to do. And I look forward to speaking to you again next week. Goodbye for now.